Right with everyone. So, guys, thanks for giving up your time. Appreciate it. So, lean mail. Michael Hoffman's going to give an introduction presentation for the next probably 45-50 minutes. He will go into more detail in a second on what he's going to present. Just a little bit of background on Michael, for those of you who don't know him. So, Michael is an expat from New York. He's an executive coach and an expert in desktop productivity. For the past 15 years, Michael and his company, Lean Mail, have been applying lean management of email with great success. And Lean Mail services customers on 6 continents and includes several Fortune 500 companies, including DHL, Sanofi, Aventis, and Sodexo. Michael, I'd like to welcome you into the group and Team Hexagon again. So to begin, why don't you tell us a little bit more, Michael?
Well, thank you, Adam. Why don't we start out with a quote from Forbes magazine when they said, email is the leading cause of preventable productivity loss in organizations today. And that's a quote from 2007. So 14 years later, do you think that this is still valid? I think so. And I think a lot of companies will say, yeah, it's probably our biggest area of preventable productivity loss, considering how much time we all spend on email. And I realize that varies according to your position, your function, but I'm sure that all of you agree that it could be a bit better in this area. So I'm going to tell you all about Lean Mail, but first let's find out what we're going to learn today. See if I can work this new presentation. There we go. Okay. So the agenda looks like this. First, we start with the why. Why is email still a thorn in people's sides? We've been working with email now for about 25 years. Why does it continue to be problematic? What is the real problem? Because that's also difficult to place your thumb on. How do we fix it? And who's going to fix that? Is that you? What's your part in this? So we'll delve into that. So let's talk a little bit about the challenge that we're having. And here's kind of the good news. Not much of this challenge is your fault. Well, not yet anyway. We'll get to that because as William Edwards Deming, I'm covering up there, as William Edwards Deming, or W.E. Deming as he's known, the father of quality, back in the 50s, actually in Japan, he's famous for saying that 94% of problems in business are systems driven and only 6% are people driven. And this is so darn true with email. The fact is that we often see email as a personal productivity problem, when in fact, it's more of a systems problem than anything else. I mean, if you think about it, Outlook hasn't changed in about 25 years. I mean, yeah, the interface has changed a little bit, but the way we process mail in Outlook is pretty identical to the way we did it 25 years ago when we were getting 5 mails in one day and thinking how important we were. You guys don't remember this, but I remember the first time getting email in the 80s and thinking, wow, 5 people emailed me today. I must be something. Right? Now it's the opposite problem. So basically, we need to come in with a better system for you before you can really attack this problem head on. Okay, so let's take a look at the 5 main challenges with email management. Okay, and the first one is that these problems are latent or hidden. Who is watching you do email? And even if somebody observed you, how much would they learn about how good you are with email? Are you working according to your priorities, or are you working last in, first out? Who's going to know that? Did you forget anything important today or last week? No one's going to know. Is your tone correct? Right? Are you writing in a nice tone, or does any frustration show? Are you task switching, meaning you're going from one thing, you're going to a meeting, to an email, back to some work, going to a meeting again, making a phone call, back to email, right? All this kind of task switching. Boy, does that tear into your productivity? You know, instead of working in the zone in your email for a short period of time, maybe half an hour, but really focused work. I mean, a lot of people aren't really doing that because it's very difficult to do that with the system that you have in place. How many times are you rereading the same mail? You know, you get a mail and you think, okay, I don't know what that's about, and you skip and you go to the next one. You come back to it and you read a little bit more and you think, I don't even know what this guy is talking about. I have to get back to him, but I can't do that now. So you go back, and then you go to the next one, and then finally, at some point, you say to yourself, I really have to answer this mail. I got to do something about this. And maybe that's a week later, and maybe it was an important mail, or maybe it wasn't even anything for you. And meanwhile, you've read it 3 times. So a lot of that stuff is going on, and it brings up the effect of Dunning-Kruger. If you're familiar with, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you can't possibly know how to deal with some of these things, or how to fix your inbox, because it's just something it's not in your world, right? So it's in my world, and I'm hopefully going to help you out with that. Then number 2, there's no benchmarking. So how, you know, I often ask people on a scale of 1 to 5, or on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in terms of your productivity with email? And almost invariably, people say, well, I'm like a 7 or an 8. Then there are people who are really super honest and say, oh, I'm like a 1. And then you have some people who have amassed their systems, and they're, you know, got all these different things going on. They spend hours working their system, and they consider themselves a 9.5, and so on. The truth is, you couldn't possibly know if you're a 2 or an 8 because you have nobody to measure yourself against in your particular function or area, right? Also, who is the bottleneck on your team? And I assure you, there is a bottleneck on your team. Who is that person? You wouldn't know that because there's no benchmarking. And is there no benchmarking because email is just not important? Because now, we're all on Teams now, so email is not important at all. As a matter of fact, we hardly use email. We all know that's not true. We all know that email, as a matter of fact, email is not used less. Email is used a little bit more, about 3% more per year. We're getting, I should say, we're receiving and sending about 3% more email per year. What is getting less is we're not spending so much time on the phone anymore. We're doing all this chatting. So a lot of things, you know, your mobile has replaced a lot of your talking time, but we're certainly doing at least as much email as we ever did. And I'm not saying this for everybody. I'm just saying the normal curve is that way. No prescribed best practices, right? Should you delete mails in your sent items every 3 years? Or should you not? Absolutely don't do that. Right? Do you really know? What is the Hexagon way of managing email? Is there a prescribed list of things that you should be doing on a daily basis when you're working with your email? I don't know. And by the way, I could have inserted Merck or Pfizer or any other company in that box, right? So I'm not picking on Hexagon. I'm just saying no company is really instituting best practices. Is it better to do quick win emails or difficult emails first? Should you swallow the frog and do that really tough email, or is it better to do a whole bunch of these little things and get them out of the way? I don't know. What do you think? Do you have a best system for remembering to take action on important emails, but you're waiting on something? So you've got this really important mail. It's not due for another 3 weeks because you're waiting on something else. So how do you make sure that that doesn't get away from you when it's time to answer that mail? Now, I know a lot of you have different techniques. You might write it down on a piece of paper. A lot of people do that. Put it in an Excel sheet, drag it to your calendar, drag it to task, whatever it is. What is the best way? Right? Because there is a best way, and an accepted best way. And you know, we don't know what that is. So of course, with our software, we're going to completely turn around the tables and give you some tools that make this a cinch, right? A no-brainer. Then no accountability. So what happens if you are totally incompetent in managing your email? I said earlier that nobody's going to know anyway, but what if you were? Well, if you're late in getting back to people, well, they might snicker behind your back, but nothing's going to really happen to you. Can't find where you put that agreement? Well, I don't know, just couldn't find it. Moving on, next. Your inbox has like 237 unread mails. Yeah, but so does his. Right? So that no accountability. You derailed a delivery from a provider. No one's going to know that. No, I promise you, no one's going to know. You forgot to get back to a client. What? Just today, all week? I mean, lots of them. That happens, right? We don't think about it. And the truth is that should never happen. And it doesn't need to happen. But with the tool you have today, it's really hard to control that. So that's why I'm not on your case. I will be, though, once you start using Leanmail. So the tool is inadequate, which I'm claiming is 96% of the reason. As I said, people are taking notes with pen and paper. You're dragging your emails to your tasks. You get these, and some people put a reminder on emails, so they get these horribly annoying reminder notices. So that, that comes in this little box and has all these different things. And there's a scroll bar there with all the different things that you're supposed to be reminded to do. And you snooze. Or you hit the snooze everything button. And you do this several times a day. And it's very annoying. And then there are workarounds like marking emails as being unread. I'm sure quite a number of you do this. I know I've worked with thousands of people, so I know all of these different habits. And one of the basic problems I have with marking emails as being unread is you're lying to yourself. You read it, right? So, and I don't have a moral problem with that, but the problem I have is that you mark it as being unread, and you have read it. So how do you know the difference between the really unread and the not so really unread? It's just a mess, right? And is that really what we should be expecting from Microsoft, right? Shouldn't we expect more from Microsoft? And I'm going to say no, because it's actually the job of their partners like us to make third-party tools to make these things work. Because Microsoft makes kind of a shell, makes something that anybody can get in front of and use, because they're about selling licenses, and good for them. They do really well, right? And then there are other companies that help you become professional at what you do, and that's our job. So I'm not at all getting on Microsoft's case. So let's talk now a little bit about how Leanmail solves these issues, these challenges. And the first question is Leanmail a method, or is Leanmail a software? And so I will tell you that Leanmail is first a method, and originally it was only a method. The only reason why we have software today is because we couldn't do the things that we needed to do to turn this into a professional way of working. And I know that in the philosophy of Lean, you try not to bring in more tools. You try not to spend money on tools and so on. Although our add-in is not very expensive, it is a cost. But we cannot combat digital challenges without bringing in digital tools, right? But first of all, it's a method. Removing waste, adding value with every click. So every time you click something in Outlook, you should be adding value. We're applying Pareto principle. If you're not familiar with that, it's the 80-20 rule. That is that 80% of your output should be coming from 20% of your input, or think of it as 20% of your clients are probably providing 80% of your profitability, and so on. You can apply 80-20 to so many different things. It's an incredible principle. No remembering. You should not have to remember anything in your inbox. You should not be waking up in the middle of the night, oh, wow, darn, I forgot to do that. That should never happen. You should never come across a mail and think, oh, I should have done that last week. It's not your fault. If your system is not reminding you for you, I mean, we're living in a digital world. Why doesn't it do that, right? So more than 2 steps is too complicated. So that's why our system is 2 steps. know when you're done. I want to know when I'm done. I want to go home. I want to feel like a factory worker. I'll get to that in a moment. I want to, and also the software is about putting braces. So to have a method and to be reminded of how to do the method is really what you want in a method, right? So that's what our software does, and that transitions me to the software. Well, we have buttons for prioritizing, automation to provide continuous flow so that you're taken from one section to the next, the 2 steps automatically, so you feel like somebody is leading you down the path so that you're getting your work done without wondering, okay, what do I do next? Again, and also this is about repetitive tasks. So we want to make sure that you're not thinking about how you do things, but instead using your brain for great ideas, your imagination. Views for having visual dashboards. So in Lean Mail, you have several dashboards. One is to see, to enable you to prioritize. One is to enable you to plan. And one most important one is to see what you need to do today in priority order. Right? So I see exactly the things I need to do today, not the stuff that I can't do until next week or in a month, but exactly what I need to do today. And then all the important things are at the very top. And that happens every day. You don't have to decide, tomorrow I'm not going to like regroup all this stuff and put things in order. It's done automatically for you. How does it do that? You're going to learn about that. And note-taking capabilities directly in your inbox. It's unfathomable to me how people can work without being able to take a little bit of a note in their inbox about each one of these mails, so that you don't have to read through these mails and think, okay, what was I supposed to do about this again? Oh yeah, it's that. You have to do that all the time, over and over again with these mails. So that's not a lot of fun. Okay, so one of the big challenges that you have is you can't instantly locate email. You're using universal search. Either you're using no folders or you're using dozens of folders. And if you're using no folders, it means you're having everything in your inbox, and you say, well, yeah, it's easy for me because I use universal search. So you're not seeing the separation between what's doing and what's done, right? That adds stress and problems that you will not see until you fix it, right? It's like somebody hitting themselves, hitting their head against the wall and not realizing how great life is until you stop doing that. If you're using lots of folders, folders inside folders inside folders, there's a logic to that, but there's a reason why Google with Gmail doesn't use that system, because it's so antiquated, right? It's a very poor system. It requires so much energy to go in all these folders to put the mail, and then when you're finding the mail, do that same approach again, instead of just looking for what, a tagged item, right? And by the way, what do you do when a mail is for IT? It also has some HR issues, and it's for this customer and maybe this product. So there's 4 different things. Which folder do you put it in, right? Well, with Lean Mail, you're adding tags to the mail, so you don't have to worry about that. You can put it on all of them, and you will find it virtually in all those different places. Finding a mail from last week will take as much time for you as finding a mail from 3 months ago if you're using universal search. So not very intuitive. I mean, if something came in last week, I should be able to get it like this. It should be at arm's length. And if it's something is much, much older, I want to put a little bit more energy into finding something older than I want to find something new, because intuitively it should be that way, right? I should have because if you think about it, most of the mails that you're looking for at any given moment usually are from in the past 2 weeks to 2 months maximum. I'm talking about 80 to 90% of your mails. So why should you look in the entire bucket of mails every time you're looking for a mail? Okay, moving on. No priority system. I know you guys feel that you might have some sort of priority system, but it's usually based upon like looking at the mails and knowing your priorities. But you don't have like a great mechanical priority system that you can say, okay, this is high, this is normal, this is high, this is high, this is normal, this is normal. And many are working last in, first out. So you go to the top of your inbox, check out the new stuff that just came in, any new presents there, right? Get the dopamine going. And then, if it's a quick one, you'll answer it. But meanwhile, there's something that's below your radar that you should have taken care of 2 weeks ago, and it's not getting your attention. Your most important mails are mingled with your cat joke mails. Right? It's very difficult to manipulate this stuff in Outlook. So no, and I just mentioned the mails can fall under your radar. No differentiation between priority and urgency. When I talk about priority, I'm talking about value. How valuable is this? Is this a $30,000 or pound email, or is this just about pizza, right? And then urgency. So I'm placing my hand on my heart when I talk about value, because I think, what's most valuable to me, my family, right? So it's value. When I'm talking about urgency, I'm talking about my watch, right here, right under here. So I'm talking about my watch. So very different things, right? Value, urgency, and yet in Outlook, basically you have urgency. They used to have value. They used to have these different colored, what were they, flags. But they got rid of those, right? So now it's just urgency. So there's no way to have a matrix of value and urgency. And you're using all kinds of workarounds. I mentioned the one about the marking mails as unread to keep sane. No planning system. Okay, some of you are dragging your mails to your task, to your calendar. Wow, that's a lot of work. I mean, great, if that's helping you keep sane, all the power to you, but you must admit that's a bit of work to do for every single mail that you need to take action on. And here's the challenge with that. Now you've got a task list in your email. Some things can be done there. Then you have stuff in your task list, then you have stuff in your calendar, and things start to get away from you from all these different lists that you have. There are other people who actually write things down on paper. Now think about this, and no criticism against people who do this, by the way, because I really understand that you're trying to do the best you can with the tools you have available. But when you think about it, the fact that you have a digital tool in front of you, and then you're grabbing a pen and paper like we did 30 years ago and before, doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. We talked about the irritating reminders. There's no way to tell Outlook, I want to see this mail at the top of my list on Thursday. You can't do that. You can't tell Outlook to do that in your current mode. You can, of course, with email, but you can't. And what a shame that is, right? Wouldn't it be great? It's like, okay, Google. Oh, I better not say that. Maybe something's going to go off here. But that's the kind of thing that we want to happen. No volume system. When I talk about volume, I'm talking about volume of email. Do you get tons of email? Oh, yeah, but I'm using rules. So, it kind of takes care of that. No, actually, it just places it in another place. And while that helps you, and it certainly does, and nothing against rules, I use rules too, and all our customers use rules, but it's certainly not the end all for dealing with lots and lots of email. Your essential mail is hidden by your non-essential mail. Why don't we separate those two things? Your emails about your SAS points, maybe occasionally it's interesting to look at your airline points just to kind of check on that, but you don't have to do that every week, as they come in, or newsletters that, why should a newsletter be mingled with an important offer or an order from one of your important customers? Why are those things in the same world? They shouldn't be. So there's no way to deal with what I call pseudo spam. It's not spam. Spam is stuff you just want to delete and never see again. But there are mails from providers like me that you might want to read every once in a while, but maybe not every time I send it to you. So why shouldn't that go in a special folder for all that stuff that's maybe it's interesting sometimes? And then by the way, why are you deleting all that? So, the first thing that people do, I notice, is they'll clean their inbox in the morning. Like they go through and looking for things to delete. Why are you deleting mails that you didn't even ask for? So that should be deleted for you over time, but we'll get to that. Okay, and then we talked about goals. Moving forward. So, David, are you here? Yes, you are. So there you are. Good to see you, David.
Hi, Michael.
So, David, I want to, if I could ask you a question or two about your experience. Now, people should know that David has been using lean mail for 9 years. So
I'm glad you reminded me. I couldn't remember if it was 9 or longer than that, but yeah, 9 years.
Yeah, so 9 years. I've known David for I think 11. And so I want to ask you, if I were to allow you to only choose one of our modules, the Instant Archive, the Prioritize, or the Plan, the one with the next actions and when dates, which one would you choose if you could only have one?
Plan.
Okay, it's so interesting. Every time I ask this question to somebody, I get a different answer. Well, not every time, because there are only 4 that people are using on a regular basis. But why is it Plan for you?
First of all, look, and I know there's a few people on this session now. I've got to go back 9 years, and what's been good so far is that all you've really done is just gone over the grind 9 years ago, just to refresh why I went into this space in the first place. I think the big point I picked up on was, this isn't some, big software learning experience. It was literally method. And you pick up the point where you talk about it's just changing your method and your approach of doing stuff. And you've got a few little tools that help you do it. So the method was the big thing, and I've just stuck with it. And I can't even remember, as I adopted it in those early days, how long it took me to change the methodology. But I got in it, and it's common practice for me. But what I do is I don't get stressed about emails anymore. I just don't. So I've had 9 years where I just see emails, and I see 60 emails in a day, and I just get on with it. And very quickly, and the reason I picked a Plan as a top of the head response was that I take those 60, and very quickly I've planned them all. So I know, and maybe it's an age thing, but I know I can't cope with so much. I need to rationalize that. And so very quickly, I have planned all those emails. So I've either said, I'm going to do that Monday, or I'll do that Tuesday, and I'll do that next Wednesday, or I'll do that today. So very quickly, I've gone to that point, and it's gone in. So then, after what seems to be a fairly short period of time, I'm able then just to look at what's right in front of me today.
Yeah.
And then I can say, okay, do you know what? Yeah, I'll deal with that one. Then I'll get into things like your archiving, and I can archive that. I know where that needs to go. So the planning bit just
so you like the load balancing part of that you can put things so that if you know that you have a full schedule today, I'm not going to be able to do too many today, so I'll make sure that I do the ones that are really urgent today, and I'll place the other ones on various days in the future according to when they need to be done.
And the reality as well, Michael, is you might say, I've got to do these 5, and there's a bunch of activity behind these 5, and I've got to respond, and I've got to build a spreadsheet or whatever. So I go into tomorrow, and I look at the 5, and I go, they're there. Best intentions in the world, I know that I need to be dealing with those 5 things. But I also very quickly through the day, because guess what? Something else will come in that's not planned that I need to respond to. So at least I'm able to take look at those 5 and just literally move them to Monday. Or, do you know what? I thought I'd do that today. I'm not getting it till Tuesday, but done. And just like you say, at least at the end of the day, I shut the laptop down knowing that everything's all planned in for tomorrow, if everything goes to plan. If not, so what? Change it around.
And David, I just wanted to interrupt for a second, because when you mentioned that, these 60 mails that you'll get in and you've planned them all, let's be clear. Let's help people understand that David is not planning every single one of those mails.
No.
Like that, because a lot of them he can actually do in less than 2 minutes, and we apply the 2-minute rule there.
Yeah.
So maybe half of them need to get next actions and planned. But
Yeah.
a good, maybe even a majority of mails, you get them done, right? So we're really talking about the leftover stuff that takes more than a couple of minutes to do, that need a little bit of planning, so they actually get them done and they don't fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
So another question. If there was something that you could say that would be encouraging to get someone who's a bit cynical about trying this out, because a lot of people, it's not that they don't like change, it's that they love their old method, which is cognitive dissonance, right? It's like saying that they're not really willing to look at another method because they're comfortable where they are. And so they don't get a chance to try something new that actually can double their productivity. What do you have to say to somebody like that?
All I can say is, look, and again, 9 years of getting into the methodology and the way I use it, it's just habit. So it's habit. And it's like anything, if you've got to change habit, sometimes it'll take you 6 attempts to change something, try something different, and then it starts to bed in. So I guess it's just about being open to changing habit, I guess. I think that's how I would comment. A great observation from me is we just had the latest version of the tools come through, and I loaded it up and you guys helped me and stuff. And then I lost a couple of hotkeys, as I call them, quick keys that just do stuff in seconds, and I lost it because it had to be configured, and so I went 24 hours without it, and I thought, this is driving me mad. But if I reflected on it, it probably would have taken me another 2 minutes of my time to go back to the old way. So when you've got into it and you get in the habit of it, then you really get hooked.
Yeah.
And you find even quicker ways to do stuff, and short keys and quick tags and tabs, and you just speed up.
Yeah. Just for the benefit of everybody, a good part of our learning, the actual learning of how to work with lean mail, you could probably be taught in 15 minutes.
Oh God, yeah.
So why does it take 3 hours of training? It's because we just want to ingrain the habit with you, so that you can take advantage of this and that you don't fall off. And so really, we are a change management organization a lot more than we are a software company.
Yeah.
So be aware of that in terms of.
Well, I think I'll speak for all my colleagues. Look, Hexagon change actually is in its DNA anyway. We just look at our history. It's just change. It is what it is. So it's part of our DNA, and it should be part of what we do anyway, and partly ingrained in us. So there you go.
Thank you so much, David. Was there anything else you wanted to say, or should we just keep moving?
Oh, no, that's cool. Hopefully that's given a bit of perspective and reflection.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're coming to everybody in the room. And what I did was I connected your core values with the values of lean mail. Let's talk about being profit driven. If you think about how many emails you're sending, receiving, clicking on, and so on, I calculated at some point that the average person, and by the way, this is kind of a low average person, because I'm doing at least 30,000 of these, whether it's responding or responding or receiving emails. Probably around 30,000 per year. So, but look at these things as micro opportunities to be profit driven, right? It's all about adding value. And if you think about, if you know what a Six Sigma is, it's being, and you guys are in this business, so or you probably do, it's being 99.99966% perfect, right? So that if you were Six Sigma in email, less than 1/10 of an email would be bungled up per year. That's pretty tough. That's even beyond me. But Five Sigma, 99.977%, 4 emails bungled up per year. I would say that everybody has the potential of that if they're using email, and certainly everybody could be a 3 Sigma, which is 98.87%. So this is where we're getting to, and we're not talking about being compulsive and spending more time on email. We're talking about spending much less time, but with a better method, with a better system of working. Being professional, and being professional in our world is taking command and control of your inbox. What does it mean to be professional? It means no delays, being proactive, no rejects, no wrong, no late mails, no forgetting about mails, no problems finding email, no more workarounds, working according to a proper system. Entrepreneurial, own it, own your inbox. Treat it as if it were your own shop. And if it were your own shop, and just, if you think about a factory floor, it's not hard. You guys are visiting factories or working in a factory or whatever. You don't clean the factory floor up once a week or once a quarter or on summer vacation. It's spotless all the time. And why? To prevent problems, just as your inbox should be. And if you have good tools to help you do that, then it's really easy to do it, and there are no excuses. Innovative or innovative. How do we call ourselves innovative if we stick to the same process for 25 years? So those who are thinking, those in the room who are thinking, I really don't have problems with email. You don't really know that until you've tried something new that so many of your colleagues are saying, hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread, right? I hate tooting my own horn here, but it's just so important that you at least try this out. And if you don't like it, fine. It may not suit everybody in the room. Although 99-point-something% like our methodology. That doesn't mean that everybody sticks to it. I think it's 93% over 10 years that use it and go through our training course. But look at this cartoon. Tell him we haven't any time for his bright ideas. We've got a battle on our hands. That's kind of the way it is. And I promise you, I'm talking to executives all the time, and they say, "Hey, Michael, I'm sorry, but we're just so busy right now." And it's 90 minutes to get fully functioning. And there's the cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is holding 2 competing thoughts in your head. Hey, I'm really busy, and I'm too busy to stop being really busy. These are really competing thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's worth me just saying something there. I think I've heard that so much within Hexagon. The lean approach that we're trying to change the culture, but people still use the excuse, or they've got that mental barrier. Well, I've got to do my day job. It isn't about that. It should become part of your day job to make your job easier. Everyone's seen the fable around 2 men trying to push the horse up a hill, and then a gentleman comes along saying, "Oh, it's 2 round objects. Use this rod, I'm too busy, I'll get up there." And approach, we've got to get rid of this mental barrier to positive change, because this will help. And I'm looking forward to getting this, Michael, because I think this week alone, what day are we on? Thursday? On average this week, I've had 150 emails a day.
Yeah.
And I'm on Monday at the moment, and we're on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, and I want to, you're bringing up a very important point here. The thing is this, that we don't have time for every productivity tool. So where does lean mail fit in, right? If I read every book that somebody told me to read, and that, oh, you got to read this book because it's going to really help your sales. You got to read this book because it's really helping you with productivity. So where do you draw the line? So you have to look at the benefits. And when you think about how much time, I mean, everybody is working on email. And for many of you, you're spending a good third of your day, in pockets, right? But added all up, and it may be a third of your day. In any event, it's like where all your communications come together on so many different things. So it really makes sense to spend 90 minutes to fix that. A one-time fix, right? I'm not asking people to read a book, that's 400 pages. And by the way, my feeling is if the training doesn't really turn you on after 30 minutes, leave. Right? It's our job to make sure that you're inspired as soon as you walk into that room. But enter the room. That's my advice about that. Let's move on to being engaged, another core value at Hexagon. And when I talk about connect with your inner factory worker, I mean that in such a positive way, because when you're a factory worker, and I've worked in a factory when I was younger, when you're a factory worker, you're not thinking about what you're actually doing. You're just in a flow. You're just taking something, you're putting it here, you're adding this, and that brings you into a kind of flow where time just goes, and you're not even aware until the whistle blows, time to go home. And when you go home, you're not thinking about your widgets. Right? You're not talking to your spouse about, I had some really interesting widgets today. No, that's gone left behind, and that's the way it should be. And the same thing should be with email. And if you haven't experienced that, it's an incredible feeling to not think about your work when you're at home with your kids and enjoying whatever Netflix you're watching, knowing that everything is in its proper place. There are no worries. That's what I want you to experience. So you won't be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning one day, having that little mini heart attack. Oh, did I send that to him? Did I remember that email? That's never going to happen. Never. Fine. Then customer focused. Every single click that you do in Outlook should be adding value to your customer. You should be clear on everything that's in your inbox. You should be able to look at your inbox, know exactly what you need to do without clicking on any mails. After, of course, the first time when you've looked at them and you've decided on your next actions. Because your priorities are getting watered down with ambiguity. If there's a little bit of unfocus about what's important today, when do you have to do things, it waters down your priorities. And the most important things aren't getting done, and they need to get done. So that's that. So, how does this all come together? What is this lean mail learning? What is this all about? So the lean mail method allows for continuous improvement and also respects your readiness for change. So you can get better at using the tool, and which is very different from Outlook, because you've been using Outlook for years and years and years, and you probably can't say to me, hey, Michael, every week I feel like I'm developing more Outlook muscles. That's just not happening. But I can tell you, people that use lean mail actually feel, even though they've been using it for years, they feel like, if I think about how I was working even a year ago, even if I've been using it for a very long time, I'm actually still getting better and better and better. Another thing that's really great about the setup of lean mail is that it's not one size fits all. So you can choose what you should do is go through the entire training program, the 3.5 hours, whatever it is. And then when you're done and you understand the methodology and you've gotten it under your fingers, so it's not totally new to you, then you can say to yourself, I really like this part, but this part, I get it. I understand why some people like it, but it's not for me. Ditch it. Just take what you really like. And then the things that you do like, you can customize those things so that, oh, I like this, but I want to see my subject lines in my Today view, even though it's not there. So I'm going to add that. Or I like the archiving system, but I don't want to use the notes part. So there are variations on this. It's not one size fits all. There's so many different combinations. So we're not trying to put a square peg into a round hole. Let's see here. There we go. So there are 3 modules in the Lean Mail suite. There's the Instant Archive, which is basically a new archiving system using one folder instead of all those different folders. And I know that freaks people out a lot when I say that. And I enjoy that part, by the way. A little bit sadistic about that, because I just love it when people, when you go through the process with users, and all of a sudden the light turns on and they say, oh, you can do that. Now I can find everything. Then there's Lean Mail Prioritize, which is basically applying Pareto principle and getting rid of the ambiguity of what we call medium importance emails. There's high and there's normal importance. And when you have that, you have the 80-20 rule. And that's what drives business, right? Then there is Lean Mail Plan. Lean Mail Plan is for those mails that don't take 2 minutes or less. Those you're just going to whip off. But the ones that take a little bit more time, you want to avoid rereading email. And that's what Lean Mail Plan is all about. It's so that you can replan on a dime, and you can group mails together so that if you have a meeting on next Tuesday and you have like 4 different mails you want to see at that meeting, they'll all be in one group for you right in the center of your inbox, ready to go. Just as an example. So it's learn, apply, learn, apply, learn, apply, and then you evaluate. I like this, I don't like that, keep what you like, and you have gone up a notch. And that's what we're interested in. We don't need too many home runs. It's not just strikes that we're interested in. We're also interested in the spares. Do you say strikes and spares in the UK? I hope so. So that's that. The learning program is, it's a 90-minute training, and you're operational directly afterwards. So it's not like you have to get through the whole training program before you can use this stuff. After an hour and a half, you're going a million miles an hour. Then there's a 30-minute coaching to solidify that training. There's another 60-minute of training mainly spent on understanding some other features of Lean Mail. And then there's a 60-minute coaching. Some of you can just stay for the 30 minutes, but other people want to have a little bit more time, and we're glad to do that in order to really solidify things for everybody. So nobody will ever feel like, oh, I didn't really understand that. Because we'll make sure that there's everybody gets the proper attention that they need. Remember, it's a really important investment. For those who get lots of mails, like Adam, we have another module that's a little bit outside the suite called Inbox 480. It's an inbox for 80% of your emails, as we think of it. And basically, it automatically separates the essential from the non-essential mails. A little bit similar to Focus, but better, more accurate, more accountable, so that you won't lose anything. It's, when I say 6 weeks, it's actually 4 sessions, but then there is a period of time when you're sending in what we call the snow. These are print screens of your inbox, and it just shows us how you're doing. We don't see any of your mails or anything like that. It just shows us if you need help, and then we come in and we help you. And we give you little hints and so on to help you to improve more and more. So 93% stick with Lean Mail if they honor their commitment to the process. All you have to do is follow what we ask you to do, and only 7 out of 100 people will leave the program. Regarding your commitment, you follow the Lean Mail method each time you work with Outlook for at least 6 weeks. That's your commitment. And if after that you don't like it, no one's going to push you to stay on. But we're asking you to try this out. Because remember, it's not learning the software. Learning the software is 15 minutes. It is taking on a new habit and a method. That's why it takes some time for that to go into your fingers. You're not going to play the piano in a year, right? I'm just using a different analogy here, but you have to go slowly with the scales. And if you're a violinist, you sound terrible for a very long time, and then all of a sudden things start to gel, and wow, you sound fantastic. But in the beginning, it takes a little bit of time, but you will be rewarded because you'll have complete command and control of your inbox. You will have such happy customers. They'll be asking how it is that you're able to reply to them exactly when they're expecting you to, and so on. And all of this hopefully gives you a happier you, because that's what, at the end, that's what it's all about. So there you have it. That's basically what I had to bring to you today. And now we have a little bit of time, well, 4 minutes. Sorry, I took too long, but we have 4 minutes. I'm, of course, available to stay a little bit longer if anybody would like to have more questions. But is there anybody that would like to ask a question of me now? We'll just open up the floor. And if not, I'll ask myself some questions. So I will mention one question that somebody asked in the previous group while you guys are thinking about various questions. And he said to me, well, and this goes back to what I was talking about with David a moment ago, and that is, I don't know if I want to invest 90 minutes into this because I'm already good with email, and I actually don't get a lot of email. And let me explain one thing, and that is, you're never, while I definitely understand you can't take every single training that's offered to you, I will say this, that there are so many people at Hexagon, and of course many other companies, who have said this exact same thing, and they said, Michael, we're so happy that you pushed us into taking the training, trying it out. That's basically all I can say to you, to try to advertise that. So obviously, no one's going to put a gun to your head and force you to take this course. Well, I don't know, but I don't think so. But I highly recommend coming in for at least the first 30 minutes, if it's not mandatory for you, because you'll be surprised. So, any questions from anybody? Otherwise, I'll sign off.
Sorry, Michael. Is it possible to have just like a kind of a demo of the product, just to have an idea first?
It's funny that you say that, because I just made a recording of a video of why I don't do demos. Okay. And here it is. I'll explain why. Demos show software. Mm-hmm. Demos for software. Have you ever heard of a demo for a swimming lesson?
No, of course.
No. And that's why, this is really tough. I really empathize with everybody who's watching me right now, because, okay, but what does it look like? How's it going to change my inbox? Because you're seeing your challenge as a technical challenge instead of a method challenge. And that's because you don't have the right tool in order to have the right method. That's the thing. And I want to expand on that just a little bit, because the reason why you don't have the right tool is because if Microsoft gave you the right tool, they'd have to teach you a little bit. They'd have to give you these 90 minutes that I will give you to get you started, right? And they're not going to do that because they want to sell licenses, which means give them something easy, out of the box, maybe not the most effective tool, but we know that everybody can learn it really quickly. That's what you're stuck with. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get beyond that, you're just going to have to spend 90 minutes so that you can take back 5 hours a week every week from then on. So, there's an investment part, and we just can't get around that. Okay. So thank you for asking the question. I don't know, would you like my answer?
No, absolutely. It's good. Thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Sure. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got a quick question, Michael. How do we, does it deal and organise emails that we've already got in subfolders, and then, a history of emails? Can we add all of that and organise that within the tool itself?
I love where you're going with this question, because you're already thinking, okay, I could probably do this, but then I've got all of this legacy material. What do I do with that? And of course, we help you with that. Of course, as a matter of fact, the second training session, I remember it's training, coaching, training, coaching. The second training coaching is mainly about that. How do you deal with the old stuff, which we can't do until you're really happy with the new method, right? So we teach you the new method. We make sure you understand it well in the coaching session. And then you're like, okay, we like it. Now what do we do with the old stuff? And we help you with that. So absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Michael, could I just ask, I agree with absolutely everything you presented, so I'm really looking forward to starting to get to use email.
Oh,
but
great.
It seems, and this might become clear when we get into the training, but is this an event that happens en masse where you decide which emails are your priority? How does the method handle kind of the dynamic day where your emails come in every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it might be? Do you have like one purge or plan event every hour or 2 hours or?
So that will depend. Really great question. That will depend upon your function. If you're in customer service, it's very different from if you're a programmer, right? If you're in customer service, you're going to have to be more on top of your email on a regular basis than if you're a programmer, which in that case might be once a day. So rule of thumb, if I were going to say how many times a day, it's 3 times. Okay, it's going to be in the morning. And by the way, contrary to a lot of people say, don't do your emails in the morning because it just sucks all your energy. Not true with lean mail, because with lean mail, it's not like you don't check your email with lean mail. You work your email. This is considerably different from what most people do when they're on their phone and they kind of check their emails. That's no good. And by the way, we do have a mobile app for iPhone and soon for Android. So we don't check our mails, we work our mails, okay? So, and your question was, like about prioritizing. So the tool does all the things that a computer is good at. You do all the things that you're good at. For instance, a tool, yes, there are algorithms today that can kind of prioritize, and Google had something for a while and they got rid of it because they realized this is too difficult. So when you look at an email, like this, if it's important or not. You know that. So why should we spend billions of dollars trying to figure out the algorithm for that when you can just quickly click a button, right? In terms of remembering to get to this mail on Wednesday, this one on Thursday, and this one in 3 weeks, that's really tough for our brains. We need photographic memories for that. So the tool does that. So basically, it's divide and conquer. We make sure that you do the things that you're good at, the tool does the things that it's good at, and you get a really great system going. So it's basically you're prioritizing, getting your ducks in a row so that your high priority is at the top, normal below that, and then you're planning. So now after the value of the mail, it's about the time when you need to do this mail buy, right? So you get this matrix system in your computer just by following these 2 steps. Really easy, right? And all ages do this very well. There's no complication. If you're my age or older, you're not going to freak out. It's really easy to do, and that's the whole point here, right? To make it lean and easy. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I look forward to using it.
Great. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, just another quick one, Michael. Sorry to keep you. So, scenario then. I've got an email come in that I need some information from another source to respond to this email. So, is there a trigger, let's say, to when I get that extra information that I need? It might be a week down the line.
Yeah.
Have you got a tool that somehow triggers?
I'm going to share with you. I'll share with you exactly how we deal with that. If you'll share with me how you do it today.
I flag an email or mark it as unread. Is the way we do it. I did it anyway. And then when I get the information I need, it's a case of having to remember to forward that or who to forward that on to.
Okay, so there were two possibilities there. One is to mark it as unread, and the other one was to flag it and put a date on it.
I generally don't do that. No, I just flag it.
But I will say that some people also, they'll right-click, go down a menu, go into another menu, and one more menu, and then add a date to it so that it comes up as a reminder for them. You can do that, right?
Yeah.
And that's not considered a workaround in Outlook, believe it or not. There's like 4 steps. But you do the mark as unread, but then it's like mixed in with all these other mails, right? Mm-hmm. So that's not much of a reminder there. So let me tell you how we do it. Basically, you read the mail, and then you've prioritized your mail. Let's assume it's already prioritized, and let's say it's a high priority, right? This is really important. It's from one of your top customers. And then you think, okay, I've got to get back to this when I hear from Philip. Okay, when Philip gets back to me, but at least by Thursday. So whether Philip gets back to me or not, I need to either contact Philip or contact this company by Thursday. So what we would do is in the next action column, which is directly in your inbox, you don't go anywhere. It's not like you're dragging things around. It's directly next to your subject line, so to speak. You write, Philip, where the heck is the contract? Or Philip, contract, right? And then you mark that for Thursday by writing Thurs. Just abbreviate it, or in 3 days, or next week if you're already on Thursday, right? So if you say in 1 week, it'll bring you to the next Thursday. It disappears from sight. You will not see it again, although you can find it very easily. You will not see that again until Thursday. When it comes up, you see Philip, contract. And you call Philip and say, hey, man, I have to get this to the customer. So where is it? So there are no reminders. It is, well, let me put it this way. There are no pop-up reminders like that. It comes right in your inbox, right in your high priority, just when you need it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think it's going to make more sense when we actually see it in action.
Yeah, it's a bit tough. I don't know if you see the same thing that I'm seeing right now. And that's the whole reason why we want to get into this session today.
Okay, thanks, Mark.